The Godfather is a 1972 American gangster movie directed by Francis Ford Coppola. In this video essay, I want to analyze The Godfather through the lens of the family melodrama, and more specifically the role of women in the movie. I will focus on four characters: Apollonia Vitelli Corleone, who is an Italian woman that becomes Michael's first wife; Carmela Corleone, the mother of the family and Vito's wife; Connie Corleone, who is Vito's only daughter; and Kay Adams Corleone, an American woman who becomes Michael's second wife. Before I start my analysis that could bring confusion and depict The Godfather as a fairly feminine environment, here are some sequences that reflect the usual and overly masculine atmosphere revolving around numerous business meeting scenes between men. The woman issue is introduced in the first sequence of the movie when Amerigo Bonasera asks Vito Corleone for a favor, which consists in avenging his beaten daughter and save the honor of his family. It is interesting that a woman's body is at the core of the very first problem evoked in the movie. There is no doubt that Bonasera genuinely cares for his daughter, but what shows from this sequence is mostly a concern for his family's image that is threatened through his daughter's appearance and avoided rape.
Now she will never be beautiful again.
Men's resort to violence to handle this problem, and most of their problems throughout the movie, is a good illustration of how women's issues are transferred from their own experience and control to men's authority and intervention under the pretext of protection and justice. Women in The Godfather are an object of desire, which is clearly demonstrated through Apollonia's character and her relationship with Michael. In their first interactions, Apollonia almost does not speak to Michael, so it appears pretty clear that he chose her only based on her physical appearance, even if he doesn't know anything about her. Their marriage is arranged between men, as Michael just had to convince Apollonia's father and behave properly in front of her family to own the right to marry her. Therefore, Michael manifests his interest for Apollonia out loud, and he seeks her attention and approval by offering her a necklace, which defines him as the subject of desire, the one in action. On the opposite, Apollonia never formulates her desire. She's only responding favorably by wearing the necklace, and even if she seems to really like Michael, during their first meetings, she seems to mostly follow social conventions, a sort of protocol that leads her to marriage. During their honeymoon, a shot on Apollonia's breast is another good example of the role she's fulfilling in this narrative. This clip does nothing really shocking, but it is rather useless, and given the fact that we know nothing about Apollonia and that we never see Michael naked, it sets a deeper inequality in their representation on screen. Carmela, as the mother of the Corleone family, perfectly fits the family melodrama role of nurturer. Almost every sequence of the movie where she is featured presents her as a joyful and kind woman, and yet once again, we don't know anything about her. I could be wrong, but I think they don't even mention her name once throughout the movie. She is always associated to her family, shown around her grown children or kids that she takes care of. She's often included in clips that show her surrounded by other women, all carrying children in their arms or making food in the kitchen. As The Godfather is set in 1945 and tells the story of an Italian mafia family, one could argue that this overly patriarchal environment is a realistic representation, and it probably is. But we can also argue that there is a clear choice on what side of the reality was prioritized. These clips on the unnamed women of the family contribute to the film's realism, but they are so short and so rare that they lose any deeper meaning. They don't give any credit or acknowledgement for their situation. Therefore, their representations normalize patriarchal norms without providing any commentary or critique. Connie Corleone's character more or less echoes Bonasera's daughter's situation, as she's the victim of an abusive husband who is violent verbally and physically, and her only way to get protection and justice is with the intervention of men, especially her brother Sonny's help. It is rather concerning how it is never questioned for Connie to leave her husband. A lot of women find themselves in her situation, where they still love their husband even if they beat them, and they don't find the strength to leave them, even if it is their safest and healthiest solution, usually saving their lives. But these women need people in their circle to encourage them to take that decision, whereas here, the only support men are giving her is through beating her husband in return, as if it was going to relieve her and guarantee her safety. As the possibility of killing the husband is sometimes evoked but dismissed so that Connie's child does not grow orphaned from his father, we understand that the perspective of excluding the husband from her life is not even considered, as their priority is to privilege the traditional family unit over Connie's safety. To make a quick comment on Sonny, one clip including him and Connie at the dinner table perhaps constitutes one of the only constructive and adapted behaviors to help women in a movie. By defending her verbally from her husband and respecting her wish of not talking about business during the meal, he values her presence and point of view, which, in The Godfather, is already a huge step. Connie is not only characterized as a victim, she is also portrayed rather disrespectfully, as her legitimate outbursts against her husband make her look excessive, which is later reinforced by Michael, who accuses her of being hysterical after she just learned that he killed her husband and yelled at him. Apollonia is another victim in The Godfather, when she blows up with the car, but her tragic death does not even have consequences. A year after the accident, Michael goes back to Kay as if nothing happened, but there is absolutely no mention of Apollonia or any form of grief. Once again, women are hurt, but it does not really matter. Kay, who has the most important role out of these four women, is paradoxically an extremely passive character. The beginning of the movie presents an average and gentle relationship between Michael and her, although she's already very devoted to his family and self-effacing, like in this clip where she has already thought about all the presents for each member of the family for Christmas, or in this other clip where she's physically put aside from Michael's conversation by being separated by the telephone booth. During the first part of their relationship, Kay is always waiting for Michael. She wants to see him more often, but he's always postponing. He can't tell her the next time they're gonna see each other, and she waits for him patiently. When Michael is away in Sicily, Kay doesn't even know it because she can't talk to him, and she is absolutely not aware that he is married to another woman. However, when Michael comes back after months of not talking to her, she accepts to marry him. We don't have any insight on her backstory and personality, which might explain why she agrees to that proposition. But even if we were given those explanations, nothing really justifies that she forgives him so easily, especially when his behavior towards her is even worse than at the beginning. She manifests her interest in going out and doing things together, but Michael keeps postponing, and again, she waits. The Godfather also tells us that women are people who can be lied to their faces. Kay is easily manipulated by Michael, such as in this sequence where he lies and affirms that he did not kill Connie's husband. With that lie, he ensures Kay's love and respect for him, and he positions himself as a fair and graceful husband by granting her the honor of asking him one question related to his affairs.
All right. This one time. This one time I'll let you ask me about my affairs.
Is it true?
Women in The Godfather perfectly fulfill the role of nurturing, domestic, and empathetic figures. Nothing in their appearance or behavior is challenging the patriarchal norms of the family melodrama. They are feminine, with long hair and dresses, never too revealing. They are not overly sexual, but enough to satisfy the men and have children. They are not dominant, they don't take space. In summary, they are absolutely unthreatening to men's power. As the family melodrama is a genre that relies on a specific balance of the family unit that is defined by those norms, we can wonder how this balance can be reached when women are so absent from the narrative and the screen. Doesn't the supposedly perfect representation of the family melodrama in The Godfather suddenly look suspicious and unrealizable? To conclude, I don't necessarily have the answers to these questions, but I think that no matter the genre or the intended effect, there is always a clear difference between choosing a realistic approach that provides insights on these women's environment, tasks, actions, and thoughts through screen time and meaningful roles, and, as it is the case here, supposedly depicting reality by deliberately erasing women from the story.